friends, we are in California, and we're not just somewhere in California. We are at the legendary Beam team, which consists of Brian and his brother Tyler. They've been drifting a very, very long time. We are doing something super excited today at the Beam Team HQ in California. We're installing the Wisefab E36, E46 do-it-yourself kit. And the kit is what you see right here. So this piece gets welded to what's left of the original arm. And you weld this bucket in there that holds the very well-known Wisefab quality UNIBALLs. This is a very elaborate piece. It looks kind of intimidating, but you cut all these little pieces out and you use them as a template to fit the arm for welding. And there's also this template that comes with the kit that you cut out, and with that template you can determine how wide you want to make these arms, because the nice thing about this kit is that you can make it a little narrower than the standard arms if you run like a smaller wheel or a higher offset wheel, so you can fit all different kinds of wheels with this kit. What we call the lock adapter that comes with this kit is exactly the same as the one we use on the E46, E36 kit. So that's the quality and geometry that you all know and like. And we have the famous Beam team over here, Tyler, Brian, and they are right now removing the arms from Tyler's E46. And that's the car we're going to be putting the lock kit on. Brian's CLOWNSHOE has been running the lock kit for quite a while. He's done a lot of drifting days with it, absolutely loves it. So this is the E36 kit, of course, that went on this car because it's technically an E36, and we also wanted to do an E46 version of it. So to install this kit you need original arms. Most people will already have them. In this case we're going to be using brand new Myla arms. As you can see, this is where the Wisefab piece will go on the original arm, and you can determine yourself how wide you want to make it. If we're checking the E36, the standard arms, like just eyeballing this because it's just for some reference, you're on about 13 inches from both joints, or 33 centimeters, roughly 14 inches that these are from the inner joint to the outer joint. So here's the comparison with the standard E36 arm and the E46 arm. And if you like eyeball it, you can see it is like about 4.5 inches wider than the standard E36 arm. So a little over 10 centimeters wider. So here's the comparison with the E46 arm, Wisefab versus standard E46. And if you eyeball that, you'll see that it's 3 inches wider, so around 8 centimeters wider than the Wisefab, or the Wisefab arm is about 3 inches or 8 centimeters wider than the standard E46 control arm. One difference between E36 and E46 is of course the lower control arm mount. It's a hexagonal shape in E46, so the kit comes with an adapter and you weld that to the control arm. Of course you can also use the Wisefab Pro kit lollipop and keep it round like on the E36. So you have some instructions with the kit. It's all very clear, and if you go through it you're maybe a little bit overwhelmed by it, but if you start doing it just as we're showing you right now, it's actually very easy. The first step that you do after you press out the ball joint is to attach this piece to the arm. You use the bolt that comes in the kit for the lock stopper. For that you can just use the bolt, thread it all through so it sits. Make sure that this doesn't bend, so it sits nice and flat. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take one of these tabs, there's 2 of them in the kit, attach it over here, weld it there, just tack weld it there on the arm. And the reason why you just have to tack weld it is because it's just a reference for the paper liner that you're going to be using to mark down the arm. And this is the paper template that we cut out. As you can see, there's different lengths to it. So you can go anywhere from plus 30 millimeter to plus 70 or plus 80 millimeter even. In this case we're making a plus 70mm set for a E46. Make sure you don't lose that bolt, of course, because it's supposed to go on the lock stopper afterwards. So now you end up with the arm, and the arm will just have that little tab welded to it. As you can see, it's very simple. And then you can use the template. The template goes right on there, and the template is going to show you exactly where you're going to be cutting the arm. Sharpie over here. And there, by using the template, it seems that we're cutting right over here. We have the piece that's going to go on like that. So you're also grinding off over here to make that piece, that fork, sit in there. So this piece is grinded, as you can see. You cut off according to what the template tells you to, and it ends up looking like this. Make sure that you kind of chamfer these sides, because it makes the weld look way nicer. You're actually creating little space for the weld. This thing is still on there. We tack welded that on. Next step that we're going to be doing is we take this piece that's part of the kit, just fit it on there. And then there's going to be this extremely elaborate piece. So that's actually has some markings on there, so it says which width you're going to be using, and all this is going to do is center location for where we're going to be welding the cup for the UNIBALL into the extended piece of the arm. So it all looks a little difficult, but it's actually very, very easy. What you do is you put this on. I actually shouldn't have put this bolt on. So we're going on 70, so we put this thing on the position for 70 over here, just like that. And you use the bolt that's been used for the lock stopper that comes in the kit. Goes through there, goes in the arm over there. You just put it on there. Make sure that it's nice and centered. There you go. So that's a nice. It just doesn't have to be super tight, but just so it doesn't move. And then you end up with the template of what your arm is going to be looking like. As you can see over here, I went to the 70mm hole, which is the second to last hole. You also do that over here, and then you take the piece that's going to go on there, which is this piece. It's going to slot right up in there. So this piece goes in there. The actual attachment for the lock stopper aligns with that. And you need to put this thing in there as well. It's part of that kit, and that's basically going to space this out correctly. It fits in between over here, and all of that stuff lines up nicely. And you just put the bolt through there in the lock stop position. Then you have quite a nice assembly over here. You can see it fixates this piece, so you can weld over here and over there, and it's going to sit 100% flush. So like I said, it looks a little bit weird, but it's a way for us to make sure that you're going to be positioning everything in the right spot. And over here, this is actually a little tool that you use to make sure that this weld piece goes in the right direction. So this needs to go on a 10-degree angle. So if you use this, it's going to sit correct on the arm. So we're going to be welding this right now and show you guys what it ends up looking.
Are you ready? Don't look at the camera, bro. That was actually pretty cool. Hold on. Alright, go. and then go for the one. You ready? Alright, go for it. I'm just tacking it right now. Great, looks cool. Okay, now I'm gonna weld. Let's see, where's this one going away? So after you weld this piece, it's part 2 of the construction welding, and that's welding this cup in there. As you can see, the arm is upside down right now. What's super important if you weld this is that the groove goes on the top, because that's where the circlip is going to go in to hold the uniball. So we want this thing to be on 10 degrees angle. You can use the template, because the template has a little edge over here, and if you set, I'll show you guys that if you set the cup on there correctly, then you'll be fine. Just to check it, you could use a digital gauge, like you could zero this out here on the kitchen table, make sure that the groove is up, and this piece needs to go on 10 degrees. So you can use your little angle finder. So that's on 11. There you go. So you can just get that just right. 9.9, that's good. And you can just mark it off over here, just like that. And then you'll have the piece on 10 degrees. The visual reference, if you don't have any digital angle finder, you can just use the visual reference and put it on the cup over there. And then you weld it right over here. It's always good practice to cover this up, because you don't want any welding splatter to come in there, because it's going to be more difficult to fit the uniball in there. So you may So this is the piece after welding. We took off the jigs. This one we still need to grind off, we don't need it anymore. As you can see, the cup for the uniball is welded on this side. So it's very easy to weld this, because it's a material that's very easy for welding. Weld it right over here. You have a nice little cavity over there. You can see over there that it's almost no gap, and you're on that 10-degree angle for that piece. Over here, it's been welded. Like, make sure that you have nice penetration. Don't move the torch too fast, because it's kind of thick material, so you want it to penetrate correctly and have a good flow. This side is not welded yet, so that's what you're going to weld as soon as you take off the little bracket over here. As you can see, as we told you, it's chamfered a little bit, and you can tell now that that's to make some more room for the weld. So you have a weld that travels inside the material very nicely, and doesn't just lay on top of it. Yeah, so we're doing the final phase, which is welding the last piece over here, and welding those things over there. If you're welding this in the weld piece, you want to tack it over here, tack it over there, tack it over there, tack it over there, so it doesn't move anywhere if you're laying these thick beads. I'm sure you guys can see over here, that's the first tacks that you do, there, 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 and there. So you're like fixing the piece in place, and then you can really burn it up over here. And it's actually quite fun to do, because usually on cars you need to be very careful, because you're welding on very thin material. This is very thick quality material, so don't be afraid to turn up the welding machine.
Next step is welding the reinforcement brace on the arm. As you can see, it attaches to the extension and it attaches to the original arm. Make sure that you remove all the paint before you weld it. And there we are with the arms installed. As you can see, you can get quite a lot of lock with it. Are you impressed, Tyler?
Very impressed. It's a ton of lock.
It's also possible to still run anti-roll bar on the front of the car, because this part of the control arm is unchanged, it's still original. As you can see, you can run way more lock before you're hitting the brace, and the specifications of this wheel are
17 by 8.5 plus 13.
Right, and it fits under the standard fender of the E46, and this is a 70mm extension on the arm. So that's kind of nice. This is going to be no problem at all. So you could run the second to largest extension, and you can still fit these baller wheels with a low offset to an E46 and have a lot of angle and not rub the frame. So the first thing you do with this kit is fit the shanks to the hub, and this is one of them, so they have a cone shape, so they will 100% fit into the hub. And there as well, it's important to attach these bolts first before you put the hub piece on, because that way they don't come off. We're going to show you how to do that. A little bit of thread locker on there. Then you make sure that these things can move, so what we on some cars, like, they're a little more stuck than others, so if you have something to put it on a piece of wood, you use a impact gun, a piece of wood on there, so it is then you set it to about 80 pound-feet or 120 Newton meters, so that's all set, and then we can install the lock spacer. You set these lower ones to 65 pound-feet or 90 Newton meters, of course with some thread locker on it. Then you have your hub ready to install on the car. As you can see, it's all steel. We like that very much. And a lock stop, which is also very nice, so your steering doesn't start to judder when you're on high lock. So that's how it goes. Keep in mind that the M3 and the normal E46 have different locations for these points. On the M3 this is slightly forward because it uses a different geometry from the factory. So if you order a kit, make sure that you specify if it's M3 or E46, non-M3. One tip to install is put the top half of the UNIBALL for the control arm in first. Just tap it in slightly with a soft blow hammer, because that's way easier to do in this situation, because they need to fit really, really tightly. This is not supposed to be a piece that comes out easily or goes in easily.
Well, I just left it what it was at.
Okay. How do you like the kit?
It feels fantastic. The steering is so responsive, it's very tight. Unlike the old kit, I could just throw it in and I trust it 100%. Street drove it here without even testing it. Not a single issue.
And you're not saying this because it's me.
No, seriously.